Celtics Parade Day, everyone. Travis Thomas here with Adam Pellerin. It's the most wonderful time of the year, my friend. Championship parade time, baby.
And we are used to it here in the City of Champions. Our 13th parade of the 21st century, first in 5 years.
Wow.
And the Celtics with their first duck boat parade
Yeah.
in 16 years. So it's been a while. Not as long as some other markets in the country, but
Yes.
for us, relative to our success in the 21st century, it's
Yeah.
been a little while, Trav.
I think so. I mean, listen, even Macy's looks at Boston and says, damn, that's a lot of parades. Good Lord. And it has been a while, but it is back. And, you know, you and I have talked about this. It's fascinating to me because both of us have covered championship parades. Now, mine in a different city, but still. We've covered it from being there, man on the street style. We've covered it from the studio. You have been there as a fan. I have not yet, but I am going today, my friend. So this will be my first parade experience as a fan. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know how in the hell Nesson let me be off today, but thank you. So I'll be down there partying. But I want to ask you from that perspective, as you kind of are looking forward to this one today. Again, studio, fan, down there, man on the street. What are your expectations for this parade? You've seen them all every which way. What are your expectations for this one today?
Well, it's nice that Nesson let you have the day off, but I was thinking more about Wifey letting you have the green light to attend this parade.
Miracles do happen, Adam. Miracles do.
That's what I'm talking about. Look at Trav with the pull in the Thomas household. I love that.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Yeah, man. I have had the pleasure of attending the parade as a fan, or one of the parades, actually. I've only been to one parade as a fan, and it was the first one. And I think we talked about that on a previous pod where, you know, I went to the one in 2002, the 2001 Patriots season, the first Patriots Super Bowl, the first duck boat parade, and it was awesome. And I think I told the story about the fact that, you know, I was looking around me, seeing everybody was imbibing, having a good time. I was not able to do that because at the time I was in college playing baseball and I had practice later in the day, so I couldn't take part in that portion of the festivities, but it was a good time nonetheless. But, you know, they've all been different in their own way, you know, and I think that obviously with the Patriots 1-01, it was the first one. With the Red Sox in 04, it was the first one. With the Celtics in 08, it was the first one. With the Bruins in 11, it was the first one for each of those teams celebrating in that style. So they were all sort of unique in that way, and they all sort of carried this sort of feeling. It was a cathartic feeling, right, for each of those teams at the time, because it had been so long since they had won. Obviously, the Patriots never won. The Red Sox hadn't won in 86 years. The Celtics hadn't won since 86, so 22 years.
Wow.
And then the Bruins hadn't won in 39 years. And so 1972 was the last time before they won in 2011. So it had been a long time. And then you had the other years, you know, they were, you know, with the Patriots especially, it's like, oh, it's an annual tradition,
right?
You know, 3 years in a row, or 3 out of 4 years, I should say, in the early part of the century, and then 3 out of 4 in the later part of the century. So they're all different in their own way, and obviously, from my perspective, covering them in different ways, being out there, being in studio, talking about the season that we just had, whichever team we're talking about at the time, all special in their own way. In terms of what, you know, I think you asked me what to expect here, you know, with the Celtics parade, you know, this is, it's been 16 years, but this is a new era of Celtics basketball we're celebrating. We're celebrating. You know, I talked about the Red Sox and you know, being cathartic, right? The fact that they were able to celebrate. Well, this is in a way too, right? Because a lot of expectation was placed on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and they hadn't delivered yet. Now they have, and so you get to celebrate that, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, listen. So I haven't had the experience yet in Boston, but from the experience I did have, when I was man on the street for the Washington Capitals Stanley Cup parade, I remember at one point, my photog with me that day We were still waiting for the parade to start. All the fans were there. It was turned up. Everyone was loud and crazy, just waiting in anticipation for this thing to get underway. And my photog goes, go do something in the crowd so I can get a shot of you. Like, go hype the crowd up. And I mean, you're talking to the right one. You got the right one, baby, like Ray Charles. I went out there. I started doing this and screaming and just being insane like I am. And the fans followed suit, and we got a great shot. And so that comes to top of mind of just how, like, insane it is. So I want to see that from the Boston fans. And the other part, you and I share something in common where we have also covered parade coverage from the studio as the host. And so in that instance, you know, I'm sure you had the same thing. You have a panel of athletes who know what it's all about. You set them up with questions. But I also felt a little bit slightly like a play-by-play guy because even though we could see the visuals of the parade, I'm still saying, here's Brad Stevens on the float waving at the fans. Here's so-and-so. So, I've had that experience as well. The one thing I haven't had, and it sounds like I'm going to have a card over you here, my friend, is to go there as a fan and now be able to drink because the one you went to as a fan, you couldn't drink. This one, I am going to drink, but I'm also going to stay of right mind to be able to watch it. Like, I don't need to work. I don't need to interview anyone. I don't need to provide a play-by-play of what's going on. So what I want to do now, honestly, Adam, is like absorb it and take it all in. Plus, it's my first Boston one. I hope first of many. But I want to be able to kind of harken back to that and say, my first Boston championship parade was the 24 Celtics. This is what I did. This is, so it's very important to me almost personally to experience it in this way, Adam.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't think you can pick a bad spot on the parade route. Yeah. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be rows and rows of people deep all along the route. It's awesome. It's a great experience. And, my experience covering the parade, I've been the man on the street guy. I did that with the Celtics parade in 2008. I've been the studio guy. I actually, appreciate, some of the experiences I've had outside of the studio as well, hosting coverage. So with the Red Sox, for instance, in 2013, I was fortunate enough to be stationed on now Jersey Street with Rob Bradford and the great late Nick Cafardo, talking about the 2013 team and how special that season was following the Boston Marathon bombings.
Right.
And how the city united 617 Boston Strong. That's why I'm wearing the Boston Strong shirt today, because when I think of championship parades, all of them have been great in their own way. And I talked about the first ones for each of those teams, the rolling rallies being special, but 2013 was especially, significant in my memory bank, remembering, what that team meant to the city, the improbability of it, right? Nobody expected that 2013 team to do what they did, coming off a last place finish in 2012. And they were able to win, and just seeing, the one moment, the seminal moment of that parade was when they reached the marathon finish line on Boylston Street, and Jared Saltalamacchia and Johnny Gomes took the World Series trophy, put it on the finish line, draped the 617 Boston Strong jersey on top of the trophy, where there was a moment of silence, and it was the most unique moment of any parade in the history, and it meant so much, and it was a dedication to the victims of the Boston Marathon tragedy. So that one really stands out to me as being special, and watching the scene unfold from my seat on the set on Jersey Street, and just being speechless, because it was just such a powerful moment. So that one really stands out to me as special.
It's a powerful moment, powerful story. I appreciate you sharing that with me. And listen, let's take a look at some of the past Patriots parade. Of course, we're talking Celtics parade here, but the Patriots have had plenty of them. So let's take a look at some of this footage here. And, whenever I think about a Patriot parade, you got to think about TB12. Talk to me about this throwback right here, Adam.
The first, this was pretty cool too, right? I think it was I think it was actually Steve Burton, Channel 4, who threw him the ball.
Wow.
If I remember correctly, and it was pretty funny, and it's funny to see all the players on these floats too. Now the reason I cut you off there in the first shot was because Tom Brady back then compared to Tom Brady now, right? In the long black leather coat, and like we're watching the evolution of Tom Brady, and that's what's wild about the Patriots parades, right? Is the fact that you have, all these different players who contributed to the team's success over the years. And while there were a few players that were year in and year out in the early part and year in and year out in the later part of the dynasty, Tom Brady was there for the entire thing.
Wow.
It's right. And it's just incredible. That is something you'll never see again, right? Where a quarterback had two separate dynasties essentially, right? Where he had the early 2000s and then the 2010s. It's just wild, right? And seeing Jimmy Garoppolo, the guy that was supposed to take over for Tom Brady, looking at him and thinking, man, this was supposed to be, the heir to the throne, and then he gets shipped out of town. Yeah, he was happy. That's his only Super Bowl right now.
He doesn't even look comfortable with that. He's out of place.
I know, but it's kind of wild to look back on the players on the float. And in this case, Jimmy Garoppolo, and think about like the storylines. And that's another. Oh, and this was the first one. This was the first one. This was
What's going on here? What are they doing here? Oh!
Wow.
I think Tom, over the years, gained rhythm, which is really impressive.
Yeah, right. I mean, and then, just going back to, talking about our experiences, Trav, covering the parades. And again, I'm going to speak from somebody in a studio watching things unfold. One of my favorite parts, and you have an analyst, with you. I think one of these parades, maybe this one in particular, had maybe Wiggy with me, Jermaine Wiggins, who of course was on the 01 team, talking, they show a player and then you talk about the player and you look back and you talk about the season that they had. And he sort of brings back memories of week one. It's like, oh yeah, this happened in week one. And then talking about all the storylines for that individual player throughout the season.
Right.
And then you sort of go to another player, you talk about their season. Maybe if a guy's going to be a free agent, you talk about their future with the Patriots. Is this duck boat ride, the final farewell,
right,
in a Patriots, right? Or that player playing in Boston, is it their final time? All these sort of different storylines pop up as you're covering the parade. And that's what makes it a lot of fun too, right? Is you're obviously looking at the celebration, but you're talking about the individual storylines as well.
I want to get to some Julian Edelman footage at the parade as well because, his look has changed over the years. So here's a full bearded, but I know he was a young pup when he was here, when he first got here. And then obviously he literally had to develop, right? Like that was player development to the highest order, a guy who didn't even play wide receiver in college, who was undersized, the whole nine, just trying to make special teams and make the team and everything else. And then he comes here and he becomes this all-time great. And was that Richard Sherman he just slapped?
It sure was. Yep. It sure was. Yep. Yeah, there it is right there. How many rings? Yep. Right.
Slap. What did the five fingers say to the face?
Oh, yeah. Nice. See, I get that Chappelle Show reference, man. No, and Edelman, again, that's right. We're seeing Julian Edelman, we're watching this, and it's a lot of fun to see that, and it's cool and everything. But then, you start talking about Julian Edelman's career, right? And how it started for him as, you had Wes Welker when he got drafted, right? And so it's like, all right, this guy's a 7th rounder. He was a quarterback. They're going to try to turn him into something. You don't really expect much. And then Welker gets hurt before the playoffs that season. It was the year the Patriots, it was Tom Brady's first year back from the ACL injury. And, he wasn't quite himself. And then Welker goes down with an ACL injury in Houston that season, and he's not available for the postseason. And then this guy by the name of Julian Edelman steps up.
Wow.
And he actually had a strong performance in a blowout. And that was sort of the beginning of Edelman's rise. And so those are the type of things that you sort of talk about when you see, players on the floats, is like, all right, well, this is this guy's story. And think about, remember this, remember that. And, Obviously Edelman had some great playoff moments as well, namely the catch against the Falcons, the miraculous catch.
Yeah.
Touchdown grab in the prior Super Bowl against the Seahawks. So, those are the kind of things as somebody covering, the parade that you talk about, and that's a lot of fun.
Adam, it's so funny you bring up that catch against the Falcons. I got to share this with you because it's clearly my destiny to be here in Boston. One of my good buddies who's a Giants fan, we had an argument not too long ago, a couple weeks back, Rando, and he brings up the David Tyree catch. I think he was saying something smart mouth like, oh, how you like in Boston? I said, I love it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, ask them if they're over that David Tyree catch, right? So no problem. I take the joke. I get it. And then I said, yeah, but, Jules' catch against the Falcons was better. Like, all of a sudden, I had an accent. I didn't know where it came from, Adam. I'm sticking up for the Patriots, baby. That's how you know I belong.
Those are the football gods evening things out a little bit, right? That's
right.
What that was. No question.
All right, you can't have championship parades and parties without the Gronkster. I am sure this video of Gronk at parades has to be 30 minutes long. I mean, we don't have enough time in this fine program to get to all the Gronk at the parade. But clearly you see he is a frat boy per usual, and he is
Boston police vest.
He's turned all the way out. Oh, that's a Boston police vest?
Yeah. Yeah. That's unbelievable.
I love this dude.
And then you got the Hennessy right there. Like, these guys just going wild. Just going wild, which is awesome. Yeah, and Gronk, he was catching Bud Lights in one of these parades. They were tossing him Bud Lights, and he was catching them left and right. And I think that was the 2016 parade, the 2016 season. So that was after the Falcons, the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. And that was also the parade where Bill Belichick, I believe, was chanting "No days off," right? And the irony of the "No days off" thing with everybody who's off from work at the parade.
That is hilarious.
No days off, maybe for you, not for us.
I love it, man. I love it. Gronk, you can't have a parade or a party without Gronk. I love the sign that said "A Gronking to Remember" as well. That was fantastic. So.
Well, that was an actual book.
What? That was a book?
Yeah, that was an actual book. Yeah, Gronking to Remember. Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Yep. Google machine as we speak.
Yeah, take a look at the Gronking to Remember.
Who in the hell wrote correctly. That? That is hilarious. Oh, here it is. Oh, it's an erotica series.
Yeah. Yeah, a Gronking to Remember.
Adam, I just can't believe that this is an erotica series of books. This is insane to me. That's one time I actually am glad I was not in the market at that time because that is disgusting. All right, let's move on here. Let me ask you this. First of all, I'm very grateful that my first Boston parade will be beautiful weather outside. I know it's going to be hot, but I'll take that. Other than all the cold weather parades that the Patriots had there. But other than the weather, what's the biggest difference, would you say, between a Patriots parade and any other Boston sports teams parade?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of hard to pinpoint the differences between the parades. It's hard not to say weather because weather plays such a big role in it. We've had snowy, cold parades for the Patriots, but we've also had, mild temperatures for the Patriots, which makes for a much more pleasant experience. But obviously the Patriots have a 53-man roster plus practice squad personnel, so there were more duck boats. I think they had 25 duck boats for their last one, which was a high. In terms of a number of people, I would say that with the Celtics parade and the Bruins parade, this Celtics parade anyway, maybe the Bruins not as much, but kids are out of school.
All right. Right.
So that makes a difference. So you might see more kids, at this parade. Not to say that, kids haven't been, yanked from school to go attend championship parades because it's worth it. But yeah, that could be a big difference in terms of the fan. I don't know. I don't think there's much of a difference, Trav, to be honest with you. Maybe the Patriots one maybe was a little bit more rowdy. Like I don't remember. I'm trying to think back to the Red Sox, the Bruins. Like I feel like, with a guy like Gronk or Edelman, like I don't remember that kind of thing at the Celtics or Reds. Like I know that Manny had a Jeter should be golfing or Jeter's golfing or something signed.
That's great.
But I feel like those guys, like there's a little bit more rowdiness there.
Yeah.
With the Patriots parades. So maybe we'll go with that. But I don't know, man. If you got good weather on Friday, with a Celtics parade and the kids out of school, like it could be pretty rowdy.
I mean, yeah. But to your point, the Patriots had a couple guys who were fire starters, who were instigators to the fans to get them hyped up. Same with the Red Sox. I don't know if you really have that on this team. Like no one's temperament, is like that. Like Tatum and Brown are low key. I mean, they're going to be happy, but they're not going to be all turned up trying to get the fans fired up. Maybe a Joe Mazzulla, he's a psycho like me. Maybe he'll be, hyping everyone up. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see. You make a good point about the kids being out of school, too. Like, I'm all for, bringing the whole family to the parade. But I'm also the flip side of the coin where my wife's like, yeah, I don't know if, the kids are still a little bit too young. I don't know if it's really worth it. So I see the flip side of the coin, too, where it's like, well, daddy's going to go party then. So I'm all for the kids being there because it's summer, but I'm also glad my kids aren't there and I can just go and do my thing. And by the way, Adam, hopefully over time, they will have plenty of time to go to their first parade, but this is about daddy this time, baby.
I love it. You get 2 Father's Days. Congratulations.
That's right. It's a win for dads everywhere. All right, let's compare the best Patriot teams, the championship Patriot teams, to this current Celtics team. As you kind of look back on the dynasty, give me a Patriots team from any era of this dynasty that compares to the current Celtics team. Where would you go here?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm going to take this approach. I'm going to look at the circumstances surrounding the teams as how I compare them rather than so literal, right? So I would compare this Celtics team to the 2004 Patriots. 2014, excuse me. 2014 Patriots. Now, the reason behind that is the Patriots in 2014, the whole Deflategate thing started to blow up, right? And so they were dealing with that going into that Super Bowl. They end up winning the thing, sort of proved the doubters wrong because people were like, "Oh, you know what? You can't win with regulation footballs. You can't win." And the Celtics, were being like, oh, they can't win with the Jays. They can't. Tatum can't do it. Jaylen Brown's not enough. So in terms of the circumstances surrounding those teams, people doubting them.
Yep.
I kind of draw that comparison. I don't know if there's anything else that sort of comes to mind. Because look, the Patriots were down in that game. They came back. Malcolm Butler makes a miraculous play. Nothing like that happened in the Celtics series against the Mavs. Nothing like that really comes to mind that happened over the course of the season. But they had to overcome, some sort of adversity in the form of people doubting them. So that's sort of where I draw that sort of comparison.
Okay. There's a couple things that I keyed in on that you said that I want to kind of go back to after I give you my answer. Because I want you, I defer to you on all this stuff. So I want you to kind of tell me if I'm out of pocket here or if I'm right on point. I'm going to go the 2019 championship team, which was the last one of the dynasty. Here's why. It's a well-balanced team. That team was defense. That last Patriots championship team kind of reminded me of the early championships where the defense was a calling card. Of course, you had Brady, But Belichick thought he was too old, whatever. He wasn't putting up the gaudy numbers like he did along the way, although clearly still capable. But that was a little more defensive. Brady guiding the ship, steady hand, veteran team, well-balanced, as I said, well-liked outside of the market. Here, everyone loved the Patriots every year. Outside of the market, you all know this, you were public enemy number one. But by the time the last Super Bowl rolled around, people had warmed up to the Patriots. It was like, you know what? They're always here. How can you not respect them? The Deflategate, which you brought up, that stuff was in the past. You also brought up the excitement of the Super Bowl you're talking about in 2014, the Malcolm Butler play, great game. I'm going 2019 here because, Adam, it was boring as hell. I mean, the Patriots run, the Super Bowl itself, it was boring. And I feel like in the Celtics championship run and even the finals, where were the buzzer beaters? Where were the close games? You got one out of Jaylen Brown against the Pacers, but, like, really, there was no excitement. They beat the hell out of everyone. There was no real drama. And in the finals, the Mavericks just felt like they didn't belong, kind of like the Rams in that last Super Bowl against the Patriots. So that's where I'm going, 2019 team.
Yeah, no, that's a good one in terms of how things played out in the game itself for the Celtics, how things played out in the series. It never really was in doubt. And you know, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, you know, it's funny, you know, the Rams were the ones that had the promising young head coach in that game, where the Celtics were the ones that had the promising head coach. So it's kind of like the roles were sort of reversed, right? But yeah, I mean, you know, the other team you could probably compare, you know, this iteration of the Celtics to is the 2001 Patriots. That's another team, right? Because that's like, all right, so, you know, Tom Brady, you know, completely unproven quarterback, you know, outside of, you know, what he did after he took over for Drew Bledsoe. You know, the Jays had sort of established themselves a little bit in the playoffs, but still had yet to win the big game. But I think the big comparison is the supporting cast.
Yep.
Right? The Patriots, supporting cast for the Patriots, supporting cast for the Celtics. You know, a big reason behind why they were able to win that game and why the Celtics were able to win that series.
No doubt. All right, who would you say is the Tom Brady of the Celtics?
I mean, it's got to be Tatum.
I don't love that, Adam.
It has to be Tatum. He's the best player.
He is the best player. I went Drew Holiday. Here's why. Dependable. Like in the biggest moments, you could say Jaylen Brown, but you could say Tatum's the best talent-wise. But I feel like the biggest moments this year, it was Drew Holiday. And by the way, not for nothing, when we got to the playoffs, he elevated his game. I mean, that's what Brady did all the time. So I'm going to go Drew Holiday here. And I feel like the team, Adam, sort of looked to Drew Holiday for that leadership, just like the Patriots looked to Brady. So I'm going to go Drew Holiday. But Tatum is the best player. He's the most gifted.
I see what you're saying. I don't love that, though, because it's like, you know, Tatum's the one that can elevate his game to the point of elite status. Right. Drew Holiday, you know, is a complementary piece to a championship puzzle.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And here's the thing, Trev. Here's the thing. There is no Tom Brady on the Celtics.
Right. No, there's not.
You know what I mean? Like, it's there just isn't. There just isn't.
And us trying to, like, force one tells you that there's not, right?
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah, now, I will say this. Jason Tatum has the potential to get closer to that, right?
Amen.
Because of his talent, because of the opportunity to go to multiple championship rounds.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, who's the Gronk of the Celtics?
There's no Gronk
no
on the
one.
Celtics.
I'll say this, though.
Hold on. I got one.
Okay. All right.
It's Porzingis.
Okay, that's where I was going too.
Yeah, so because he's a freak.
Yes.
Right? Porzingis is a freak, just like Gronk's a freak.
That's right.
You know? That's why. That's why. Not necessarily a character.
Yes.
But in terms of like on court, on field comparison.
Yes.
Gronk did things that nobody, you know, with his size and strength could do speed wise. Porzingis with his size, his ability to shoot the three, to handle the basketball, go to the hoop. There just aren't guys like that.
Yes. By the way, let me add this. Fan favorite. So I told you I went to game 2 of the finals. Mm-hmm. Remember, that was on the heels of Porzingis coming back, having a huge game 1. And he did, in game 2, he got re-injured, but pregame, when he ran out of that tunnel at him, because the rest of the team was already out there warming up. And I'm sure he was in the back getting treatment. When he ran out of that tunnel, brother, I mean, you'd have thought the Beatles came out. The place erupted and went crazy, and he loved it up, just like Gronk. He was waving. He understood the assignment, right? And we even saw that in his heroics, his Willis Reed moment, if you will, in Game 5, when we know damn well he shouldn't have been out there. But he came out. He played in Game 5. Same thing, same kind of reception. I mean, he's a made man in this city for the rest of his life, no doubt about it. Just like Gronk. All right, who's more like Bill Belichick? Follow me here. Brad Stevens, is he like Bill the GM, or Joe Mazzulla? Is he more like Bill the coach? Which one would you go? Which path?
It's so it's hard, right? Because Bill did have success as a GM, but Bill also had a lot of shortcomings as a GM.
Right.
And he was doing it for a long time. Brad hasn't had any shortcomings as a GM yet.
Right. Not at all.
It's just, right? I mean, he's been nearly flawless. So I'm going to go with Mazzulla is more like Belichick, the coach.
Okay.
Mazzulla is sort of seeing the game differently. And even in his post-game, or not even post-game, but even with his interactions with the media.
Sure.
He's different, and he's very monotone.
Yeah.
you know, so like those comparisons sort of, hold true between he and Bill. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, listen, I got to go neither here. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Oh, I'd go neither if I could. I thought I had to pick one.
Yeah, I know, but I can't. I'm trying to think. Brad as a GM right now is flawless. We'll see, though, how that goes. And then I hear you. I mean, outside of the post-game press conference, I just don't even think Joe Mazzulla can hold Bill Belichick's Tinder profile. It's just not even in the same stratosphere. We're talking about the GOAT here. I'm going to go neither. But although I think Brad Stevens eventually will make some mistakes as a GM, and maybe that's a little bit closer. By the way, if you love all the parade talk, get more of Adam and I talking Boston parades, talking Boston sports, talking Boston pop culture. We got all the business on Boston Has Entered the Chat. Check us out there. Tune in on Nesson's YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wherever you get your podcasts. Also, make sure you follow us on all your social media accounts for all of our best content. All right, we do have some Patriots news. Rhamondre Stevenson gets the bag. 4 years, $36 million, 17 guaranteed. I think for running backs, Adam, this is good stuff. This is a great, fair contract on both sides for Rhamondre Stevenson. What say you?
Yeah, I have to think that he's their best offensive weapon, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to pay the guy.
Right.
You got to pay the guy. And I think this now makes him the 6th highest paid running back in the NFL in terms of average annual value.
Yep.
So, I mean, McCaffrey's now at the top of the list, and, we know what he means to that Niners offense. Granted, the Niners have other weapons as well. Maybe not Brandon Ayuk soon, but we'll see how that story unfolds.
Yep.
But in terms of the Patriots, with either Jacoby Brissett or Drake May under center, you need a safety valve, right? And a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Rhamondre's proven that to be a strength of his. He had the high ankle sprain last year, but 2 years ago he had 1,000 yards on the ground. He had, I think, 69 catches.
Yep.
In that 2022 season. So that's a valuable asset. And so I think that he deserves that. He deserves that money. That's a good, you're right. You said it. That's a good deal for him. And that's a good deal for the Patriots.
Absolutely. What I want to see, my expectations for him, Adam, I want to see him put a full season together fully healthy. And by the way, You know, everyone's quick to tell me how bad this Patriots offensive line is, but players that I've talked to, former players over the years, they always say the same thing. They're like, the best way to help a bad offensive line or a young offensive line, give them time to gel, get better as the season goes on, is a strong running game. Those dudes want to mow people down. Pass protection is harder to do. It takes more time. You need more reps. You got to learn each other's chemistry. It's a choreograph type thing. But when it comes to running the football, I mean, that's what these offensive linemen live for. That's what the big uglies live for, to line up mano-a-mano and run your arse over. And Rhamondre Stevenson is a big, strong, physical back who, in theory, should get stronger as the game goes on. I hope he eats this season. I believe he will. I just want to see him, Adam, stay healthy. That's the key. If he can put together a full season healthy, I've been waiting on a Rhamondre Stevenson breakout season. I believe this could be the one.
Yeah, I think it could be. I think, but again, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, there's just so many storylines going into this Patriots season. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, Rhamondre Stevenson is very low on that list because I think you do know what you can get out of him. You know what you can expect out of him. You're going to get, some yards on the ground, some ground and pound, and you're going to get, some catches out of the backfield. But yeah, I would love to see this be a breakout season from Rhamondre Stevenson. And what that would mean is that the Patriots offense is clicking a little bit. Right? If he has a breakout season, that means that whoever is under center, whether Brissett or May, and some of the passing, that means the passing game's working a little bit, right? Because you can't have one without the other. So that I would love to see that, Trav.
No doubt. All right, so Rhamondre got his bag, but he ain't getting that quarterback cheddar. In fact, Adam, some NFL owners allegedly discussing potential QB salary cap amid concerns for the growing concerns for the quarterback money that's being doled out here. I think I call BS on this story. I don't believe this. I do believe there are some owners who maybe, they're upset because, they don't have a quarterback, and they look around and they're looking at all this money being doled out to the guys who actually deserve it, and they're getting upset and they're complaining and they're playing the victim. Well, I don't have a quarterback. I don't like all the money. I mean, shut up. You want a quarterback, go get one, and then when you have one, you'll happily pay for him. That's what I see here. I see a lot of jealousy going on for teams that don't have franchise quarterbacks, and so it's easy for those owners to sit back and complain about the money that the guys who can actually sling it in this league are getting money for. I guarantee, Adam, because we're headed here. I'm not going to break any news here. I believe at one point, every team in this league will have a great quarterback. You just look at what college is giving out. You look at all the quarterback development in youth football, these 7-on-7s. We certainly see where the rules in this league are going. It's just a matter of time before you're pulling off a flag. I mean, you can't even breathe on a quarterback, let alone hit him anymore. So I think it's just a matter of time until literally every single team in this league has a great quarterback. And then we understand levels to greatness, but that's what this is. I think this is just the owners who don't have it, crying over spilled milk, and about the money that the real ballers are getting in this league. That is pure hate. Get it out of your heart, owners. You make more money than anyone. If you get a quarterback, pay him accordingly. To that, you say what?
I mean, man, I think you said it all. I mean, you got on your soapbox there. I love that, Travis. That was very impressive. But, I don't know. I mean, look, yeah, it's a quarterback's league. They're the best player on the field. I don't know why we're talking about capping the quarterback when the quarterback is the most important position on the field. And, I look at some of these. I mean, like, what do you think? The Lions are complaining that they paid Jared Goff what they did. You're absolutely right. It has to do with the guys that don't have the quarterbacks right now.
Right.
And even with that, like, can't you manipulate? I mean, I'm no capologist, Travis, but can't you manipulate the salary cap where you give guys guaranteed money and signing bonuses, and you're able to push that off into future years? And yeah, you have some dead money at the end or whatever, but at the end of the day, like, you can keep that salary cap down by giving guys signing bonuses. So I don't really understand why you would need to put a cap on the quarterback if you could just manipulate the cap anyway and
Right.
sign the guys that you want to complement your offense, surround your quarterback. I don't see what the deal is. I don't see what the big deal is.
I completely agree. I mean, listen, here's the other part. If you just think of quarterback adjacent players and positions. So obviously we know the quarterbacks get paid, but the guys who protect the quarterback, your offensive linemen, they're getting the bag too. How about all these wide receiver contracts that we're seeing? So the targets, the guy that your quarterback throws to is getting paid. And then you look on the other side of the ball. Adam, we're from an era where your corners, your safeties, remember when linebackers mattered? Now it's like if you're not a pass rusher, you're not really going to make that kind of money. So think about that. Quarterbacks, the guy who protects them, your weapons, the guy he throws to, and then the person who chases them. Outside of that, no one's getting any money. Running backs don't get money like that. This Rhamondre deal we're talking about is good for him, but it's not breaking the bank. I mean, it's completely centered around the quarterback now. You can't put a cap on that.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You're talking about Rhamondre Stevenson getting his deal. It's like $9 million a year.
Right.
That is 25% of what Justin Jefferson is getting annually, right?
Right.
I mean, he's getting $35 million a year. It's ridiculous. And I'm not saying that, Rhamondre should be getting paid more, running back should, whatever. Point being, like, you're spot on. It just happens that this position, the quarterback position, is the most important and should be paid the most. And there really shouldn't be a discussion about, like, putting a cap on it.
Right. By the way,
with the NFL making as much money as they are.
Yeah.
Talking about putting a cap on, well, we're paying them too much. We don't want to, whatever.
Well, think about this too. Because you and I are from the era where the running back was the star of the show. We just talked about Barry Sanders and all these guys. Yeah. Now, if you think about it, Christian McCaffrey's getting real money. It took a while, but Saquon Barkley's getting real money. Why?
Yeah.
Because they can catch the ball out of the backfield, too. You can line them up out at receiver if you want. They're versatile pieces. It's almost like having an added wide receiver out there. Those are the running backs who are getting the real cake. And, again, that's quarterback adjacent.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, I mean, again, like, you have more than one skill set. You're not a one-trick pony, so to speak, right? So you got a running back who can run the ball, and you got a guy who can catch him, right? Alvin Kamara. Right?
Yeah.
You talked about, running backs who get paid. Christian McCaffrey at the top of the list. Guess who's second? He is.
Right.
So, I mean, that all makes sense to me, and I don't really understand where this is coming from outside of the things that you may have said, where some of these owners are feeling a little butthurt that they don't have the guy yet.
That's exactly where it's coming from. And listen, if like my thing is, like, don't hate them, join them. Like, just keep plugging away at getting the right guy. The fascinating team I want you to watch, keep your eye on in the future here, is the Miami Dolphins, because they have a real decision to make. Do you pay Tua, who we can all see he's only working because it's that system? We all know damn well Tua is not worth the money that he's going to ask for. So I'm interested. At this point, we're so quarterback rich in this league now, Adam, that I think we're going to have teams start to say, yeah, we're not going to pay that. So sorry, it's just not going to happen. Go take a walk, test the market. We're going to reset the quarterback market as a franchise and draft a kid or go out and get a cheaper alternative than to pay you. I think we're starting. I kind of covered it a little bit in Washington with Kirk Cousins, where they, for whatever reason, just decided, we're not going to pay you. Now, they botched it in the sense that they didn't have a backup plan, but they let Kirk walk, and we've seen, 3 contracts later, he's still getting paid. So keep your eye on that now. I think teams are even going to start to make these business decisions as it comes to paying these quarterbacks. For all of our best content of the day, make sure you follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Travis Thomas, Adam Pellerin. That's a wrap for us here on Foxboro Rush. Till next time, peace.